Hello, welcome to the second part of the editing computer build here on Home Tech Adventure. We need to update the BIOS on this particular computer or this particular motherboard. We looked and we saw that the version 3.2 was the BIOS that was on here. That's almost for sure very old. This motherboard was bought 2 years ago, so it's an older BIOS. We need to update it. Now, this this will be quite an adventure. I've already done a little bit of pre-work and done some research. This BIOS update is more complicated than you'll see on pretty much any motherboard. I've never seen an update this complicated. But if you can do this one, you could do any one. And you'll learn a lot. If you don't know how to update a BIOS, you'll learn how to do it through this process of updating this BIOS, because it'll take several different iterations to actually get it updated to the most current BIOS. Now, I'm saying BIOS. What I really mean is UEFI. BIOS stands for Basic Input Output System. UEFI is Unified Extensible Firmware Interface. The UEFI replaced the BIOS several years ago. All new motherboards come with basically just UEFI, and that's it. It's replaced the BIOS. The BIOS was not adequate for modern computer systems and hardware. It needed updating, and it just couldn't be updated enough, so they did a whole new system called UEFI. Now, you don't need to know that too much, but anyway, just a little bit of background. When I say BIOS, I really mean UEFI, and so do most, pretty much everybody nowadays. BIOS just rolls off the tongue better. Now, how do we update the BIOS? Well, there's several different methods. You do want to be cautious. You can do this at home. This is not something that's difficult or anything like that, but you want to make sure you don't lose power during the BIOS update, because if you lose power during the BIOS update, it can damage the insulation. It basically cause it so that it's not fully installed, and then it can do what's called brick your motherboard, which means that the motherboard will be completely unusable or as useless as a brick. It is possible sometimes to repair it by sending it back to the manufacturer and getting it repaired that way, if the manufacturer is willing to do the repair. Yeah, you can do that sometimes. Some motherboards have a dual BIOS or two BIOSes, so that you can just go to the previous BIOS if the other one fails. And still other motherboards have ways to update the BIOS just directly without even going into any operating system or anything like that. And sometimes those can recover from a bad BIOS update. But a lot of motherboards still just have one BIOS and one thing, so you want to be careful when you do this. Now, the first way that most people think to update the BIOS when they look at the system is to download the Windows Updater thing, and you update through Windows. I don't recommend doing that because Windows is very adds another layer of complexity. It's possible that Windows could crash, and then that crashes, and then it ruins your BIOS update, and okay, well, now you just ended up with a bricked motherboard again. So I don't recommend going through Windows to update your BIOS. There's a second way. Some motherboards can connect to the internet, and by connecting to the internet directly through the UEFI, they can update the BIOS on their own. Basically, they phone home and update themselves. I have never gotten that to work for some reason. I've tried that on a couple different motherboards. I've hooked it up to the internet, and for whatever reason, maybe settings or maybe my network's setup or something like that, it was not able to phone home, and it was not able to update the BIOS. In the case of the failure, it just says it can't do it, and no big deal. Now, the third way to do it is the old way, and this is the way I really prefer, and this is the way we're going to be doing this, and that is to use a USB flash drive to put files on, and then take it to the motherboard in the UEFI and flash the BIOS from that flash drive. This is the method that we're going to use. You need a USB drive formatted to F32. This is the one I'm going to use first. You notice I have three. Like I said, it's going to be a complicated install. We'll talk about why we need three of them. A couple of things about these. If it's not working, try a full reformat of your flash drive. Try different USB ports if the first USB port doesn't work. Sometimes motherboards are really picky about how they update the BIOS. The other thing, you notice this one is it's a USB 3 flash drive. These others are USB 2 flash drives. A lot of times, if it's an older motherboard especially, the USB 2 is the way to go. The USB 2 drive tends to update the BIOS easier, and sometimes even can't update it with the USB 3 flash drive. So yeah, a couple of little details there. You can mess around until it works and get it to work. Let's do some research now and figure out exactly how we have to update the BIOS on this motherboard. It promises to be a real adventure. Well, a home tech adventure, of course. All right, let's get going. I'm on a different computer now, and we're in Windows. Let's do some research and figure out what we have to do to upgrade the BIOS on our motherboard. First of all, you need to search for your particular motherboard. In my case, we have an Asrock X370 Taichi Motherboard. Do a search. What you're looking for in the search is the actual manufacturer's website, not the ads. First one comes up on our favorite search engine here, Asrock. That's the manufacturer's website, X370 Taichi, so that's what we're going to select. Go down. You're looking for a support page. This will vary depending on the manufacturer that you have, but you always have some kind of support page. Got a support page right there, and it says BIOS. So let's click BIOS. That we want to update the BIOS. Now normally you update to the very latest BIOS. So here's 5.8. Normally I just update to that BIOS and I'd be done with it, but this one's a little bit different. Oh, by the way, notice they don't recommend updating the BIOS if the system's already running normally. They always say that because they don't want to be responsible for you bricking your motherboard. So they put a disclaimer up there that if you brick your motherboard, it's your fault. So we knew that already. All right, let's take a look. 5.8, it says, Asrock do not recommend updating this BIOS if Pinnacle, Raven, Summit, or Bristol Ridge CPU is being used on your system. I'm using a Summit Ridge CPU, and a Ryzen 7 1700X is a Summit Ridge, so I don't want to use this. Asrock doesn't recommend it. So what is the next one? 5.6. Please install the VGA drivers, AMD all-in-one VGA drivers. Probably not useful in our case because we're not using an APU. We're using a CPU that doesn't have a built-in graphics card. So we probably don't need this, but we're going to install it anyways because they recommend it. And you always go with the manufacturer's recommendation on that just in case. But it says also if the current BIOS is older than 5.10, please update to 5.10 before updating this version. Okay, so let's go down to 5.10. 5.10. And we have to update the VGA drivers, but we can go with the newer one. It says or later, so we can go with the newest one up here for those VGA drivers. But what else does it say? Oh, if BIOS is older than 3.3, then update to 3.3 first before updating to this version. So we go down to 3.3, and that's a bridge BIOS. If you remember when we looked at the BIOS, when I booted it up, I said it was BIOS 3.20, which is this one. So the very next one is the bridge BIOS, so we can start with that. All right, this is getting a little bit complicated. So let's get up the notepad and start taking some notes. So we're going to have to start, we're going to want to end up with 5.6. That's what we're going to want to end up with, 5.60. That's what we want. But to get there, we first have to install 5.10. So where is that? There it is, 5.10. So let's write that down. Okay, and before we install 5.10, we got to install these VGA drivers. So VGA drivers. Okay, we'll just abbreviate that so you can see it. However, these VGA drivers are likely, more than almost for sure, this is going to be a Windows install system, and it might even be a Windows driver type system. So we're going to have to install Windows first. And then before we do even that, before we get to 5.10, we have to install this BIOS, the bridge BIOS 3.30. This is the most complicated BIOS update I've ever seen in my entire life. Usually you just update to the latest one and you're done. But if you can do this one, you can do any one. So let's start downloading files here. So BIOS 3.3. Let's download that. Okay, we'll save that. It's taking a while to download right now. I have a pretty fast internet connection, so this seems long. All right, so that's all downloaded. Now let's download 5.10. I'm selecting global because it's, all right, that's finished immediately. I'm selecting global because I'm not in China. So 5.6 we also need to download. Okay, and it's just giving a warning to read the BIOS warning. So we already did that. We're good. Yes, we want to save that. Okay, this one's taking a long time too. We'll see when that finishes. BIOS files are pretty small. They've been having actual problems. Okay, now we've got to update this VGA driver, and this is the latest one of the bunch. So we're going to install this latest one, and that should be good. We should be able to do that one and not have a problem with any of the others. Because the latest VGA driver should cover all of the other ones. It said or later, and that's the latest one they got listed there. So we'll update with that driver. That's finished downloading. We're done with that, and I'm going to close this out. I know the order, so I don't need to save that. That was just so you guys can see what's going on. Let's check our downloads folder. And there we go. Okay, let's get rid of the VLC player so that we don't have extra stuff on here. Okay, let's unzip these things. Let's extract all for all of these. By the way, I tried to select all of the files and then just choose extract all, and it wouldn't extract all like 4 zip files at the same time. If anybody knows how to do that on the Windows system, I'd appreciate you telling me, because these things would go much faster if I could just do them all in bulk like that. But we'll do them one at a time here. It shouldn't take too long to extract them. That one took almost no time. Like I said, the BIOS files are very small because they're specifically built to be small. They got to fit into the BIOS thing, and they've been actually having problems with the BIOS chips not having enough memory to store the kind of BIOS that they really want to put in there. And the manufacturers, it seems, are being cheap and not putting in bigger BIOS chips, and or there's technical reasons why they can't put in larger BIOS chips. Okay, so now all we have to do is put these files on a flash drive and then update our BIOS from the flash drive. Now I did say I use USB 2 more often. I was having problems with my USB 2 sticks. I think they might be kind of dying, so we're going to use USB 3 sticks for this because that's what's working right now, and hopefully it'll work when we get to the BIOS. It should, because it's a newer computer, and the newer computers, they do a lot of USB 3. Okay, so let's put the 3.3 ROM on this one. Didn't take long. And let's put the all-in-one driver on that too, so that after we install Windows, that we can update that VGA driver. Now, you'll notice that I'm going to use 3 different flash drives. The reason for that is I found that it's best to have just one file on the flash drive, and that's it. Nothing more on the flash drive to confuse you, or at least not another BIOS file on the flash drive. And I can already see I made a little bit of a mistake. It's recoverable, but we'll wait till this downloads and I'll explain what the mistake was that I made. So we'll see how that, we'll see it work. Anyway, the BIOS files, if you have more than one on there, you can select the correct BIOS file, but because this is such a convoluted update thing and complicated, I want to make sure that I only have one BIOS file and I don't mistake which one I'm going to install at which point, because I don't want to brick that motherboard. It's still a good motherboard. Now, normally I just come back, erase the old file, put the new one on there, and then go back and do it. But I'm doing it this way so that I can just do it all at the same time when I'm filming for the YouTube channel. Here's a mistake I made. You see it's down a level with the with that, so I don't want that down a level. So let's delete that. Yeah, delete that. Okay. And so what we'll do is we'll take, and we want just the raw file. I don't know why they put the folder there, but we want just the raw file on there because then the BIOS can just see it really easily. All right. Ooh, I forgot to mention, we always should check the properties on this. We should check to make sure it's a FAT32 drive. This one was a FAT32 drive. Let's see. Let's give it a creative name. UEFI Update 1. Okay, there's a creative name for that. Okay, so that's our first update drive, so we'll rename that. And this is really strange. I've found that Windows does not rename these things. It doesn't refresh this window for some reason. Now, if I open a new window, okay, let's see. Open a new window. Let's. Oops, wrong button. I'm used to the Mac. I'm more familiar with the Mac operating system, but we're using Windows today. So now you can see if I open a new window, it says UEFI 1. The old window still says blank. I don't know why Windows doesn't update that. Does anyone know how to refresh these windows? Oh, I guess we could click the refresh button. Does that do it? No, that doesn't do it. No, that doesn't do it. Okay, so anyways, if anyone knows how to refresh these, that would be cool. You could tell me how to refresh those without having a problem. Anyway, we got our UEFI U1 for updater 1, and let's eject that one. Good to go on that one. Now, let's get UEFI updater 2 in there. Let's check right away to make sure that it is a FAT32. Oops, I clicked the wrong thing. I clicked the network. Let's try blank disk. Properties. Okay, so it's a blank, so let's go UEFI U2. So we keep that one straight. It is FAT32, so we're all good to go on this one. And this one gets the second update. That's going to be 510, so we will put that on there. All right, that one's good to go. Let's eject that one. Eject, there we go. All right, let's get the third one in there, and we will go back here, and we're just going to put 5.6 in there, but let's check first. Properties. Now, I did this on purpose. I wanted you to see. This is an exFAT system. We do not want an exFAT drive for this purpose. You want a FAT32 drive. I don't know where my window went, so let's open up another window. It's very easy. We just right-click and choose Format. And instead of exFAT, we're going to choose FAT32 default. In fact, it's probably the default system on this. Just hit Restore Defaults, and it just defaults to FAT32. So let's rename this UEFI U3. So that's the third updater. So click Start, and it should do that. Now, if you're having problems with your disk, you can uncheck the quick format and do a long format, but these particular flash drives are working very well right now, so we're just doing the quick update. So now let's get to this. That's the UEFI U3, and let's copy this over. Okay, so now that's on that drive, so let's eject that. And we're good to go. Have all three updaters, and we will see you at the other computer when we want to flash the BIOS. Let's go do that. Hello and welcome back. We got our computer here, and we're going to install the new system of the new BIOS, or UEFI, after all that work in downloading it. So let's get things started. I already turned on the monitor. Let's fire up our power supply. Now, I did attach a power button here. Just makes it easier to deal with things when you're working with a bench system like this. So let's press the start button. By the way, I figured out the fan mode on the power supply. It is actually operating with a fan mode now. So there we go. We're booting up, and hopefully we'll see a screen. Maybe we have to punch this again. Might have to turn that on and off. That might get it to actually show a screen. Will it show? Maybe? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we have our BIOS currently at version 3.2. You probably can't read that, but it says 3.2 right there. So let's take our first drive that we prepared, and put it in here. This is with the BIOS 3.3 on it. So I'll put that in the system and let's update. Now I'm going to switch to the screen only view and I'll show you how that works inside the BIOS. I'm here in the BIOS. I use the delete key to get there. Later on maybe we'll use F2, which you can use on this motherboard. But I'm going to use the arrow keys to navigate over. And if you look, we can go down and do the instant flash utility. I'm using the mouse here. You can click the mouse. Notice the internet connection is not valid. So I'm going to use the arrow key and hit the enter key on internet flash here. And if I hit the enter key, you will see it'll search for a valid BIOS. There it is, doing the search. Now here, you generally do need to use the mouse to click the update button. So just double check. We do have the correct the correct variant. Click the update button, double check to see that we have the correct variant, version 3.3, and then click yes to update the BIOS. And then we wait. You want to not turn off the power. You want to just wait during this time and be patient. So when this gets done, we'll be back and we will finish the update. Back in the BIOS now. I walked away for a bit. And we're going to wait until it's finished and then hit enter. And then we're going to reboot the BIOS to check to make sure that we got the right BIOS. And before we install Windows, we're going to disable the CSM module. And I'll show you how that works. So let me just hit enter here. And then we'll wait and it should reboot the BIOS. All right, I've rebooted now and we are in version 3.3. You can see the BIOS has updated properly. Now, if you remember, we have to install Windows at this point. And before I install Windows, we're going to change the BIOS so that we don't have the CSM active. Compatibility support module. It's actually an old school BIOS system within the UEFI for compatibility with older components and older software sometimes. We want UEFI boot only. And so what I'm going to do is turn off the CSM module before I install Windows. Now, if it doesn't work, if we can't get the Windows installer booted with the CSM module off, we'll turn it back on. So let me get back into the BIOS and I'll show you how to do that. We're back in the BIOS now. I double check here. We are on version 3.3. Click over to the boot options. Go down to the bottom for the CSM module. Hit enter on the keyboard. And that should bring up the CSM module. It's enabled right now. I'm going back. Hit enter and it can be disabled. You just go up with the arrow key, hit disabled, and then you have to save it. So you go to exit, save changes and exit, hit OK, and you're good to go. I forgot, before we install Windows, we actually have to install our system drive. Now the system drive is an M.2 drive, so we need to install it right in here. So I need to remove this graphics card to actually get access to that. So first of all, I'm going to unplug the power supply to make absolutely sure we don't get any power while we're doing this. Okay, then I got to remove the pin for the PSU and push the little release button for the slot here to get that out of there. And we'll just let the PSU hang there. That'll be just fine. Now let's get my M.2 drive. This little teeny tiny screw is what will hold in the M.2 drive. Now let me get it out of the package. It's usually, these M.2 screws are usually a 000 Phillips. They might be a 00 Phillips. So I got both screwdrivers here. Let's try the 00 first. You always use the largest Phillips that'll actually fit. Let's see if we can get that in there. Yeah, the 00 actually seems to be working fine. In fact, it might be just a 0. It's a little bit loose. Let's try just a 0 Phillips. See if that actually works. So we'll get the 0 Phillips out here, if I can find it. Yeah, that's a 0 Phillips. Okay, let's see if the 0 Phillips actually works. Well, it kind of does. We'll use the 0 Phillips. So Let's get out our M.2 drive and put it in there. M.2 drives are wonderful things. They are so easy to install. You literally just slide them in and then you push them down and secure them with the screw. That's really all you got to do. So I got to get this little thing out of here. Harder to get out of the package probably than it is to install. Okay, so let's just slide that into the M.2 slot here. And I'll just push it in gently. Now it just pops up like that. We're just going to screw it down with our little screw. Now this is going to be kind of tricky because these screws are so teeny tiny. This is the tiniest screw I have ever seen on the M.2 drives. So I'll put it down in there and we'll see if we can screw it in. Come on. Okay, now it's sticking to the magnetic screwdriver. Let's get it. There we go. Let's get it stuck like that, and then maybe we can get it in. There we go. Okay, just go in. There we go. And then just a little snug. You don't want to strip the threads. It's a very tiny screw. Okay, so the M.2 drive is installed. All right, that's good. Let's get our graphics card put back in. And push it down until it snaps in. It's good. Okay, so we got the graphics card in. We got the M.2 drive in. I have a USB install drive here that I created. Now I did buy a USB Windows 10 drive, but I bought it 2 years ago, so it's old. So we're not going to be using that. We're going to be using the one I burnt and downloaded from the internet. Maybe another video I'll show you how to do that. But it's got the latest Windows 10 version on it, so I can directly install the latest version instead of just installing an old version and updating. So we'll see how this works. Okay, so let's boot into the Windows installer and see how it goes. So we'll get that going. We'll turn the power supply back on. Yeah, but we got to first plug the stupid thing in. So let's plug that in. Okay, and then we'll add power to the drive there, or the power supply. Okay, and we'll press the button and hopefully we'll boot into the Windows installer. Let's see what happens. Oh, wait. Oh, let's turn that off quick. I forgot to attach the power for the graphics card. We're not going anywhere without graphics card power. So let's attach the graphics card power back up again. So attach that. There we go. Okay, get that one in there too. Make sure they're seated well. Yep. Okay, so now we're set to go. Okay, let's try that again. All right, and we might have to cycle this power because of the screen recorder. So let's cycle that on, press the power button, and we should be good to go. It should boot into the Windows installer. Ooh, we got a little bit of fan noise there. Cord is just attacking the fan there because I don't have the cable managed yet. Okay, let's cycle that again and see if we get a picture. All right, get that. And we got a picture. It's not showing very well, so I'm not sure why that is the case. Let me take off the screen recorder and just hook it up directly and we'll see what happens. Hello and welcome back. That didn't work so well. You notice the screen went bad. Turns out it was a bad graphics card. Now, I turned off all the power. I checked the video. I turned off all the power like I was supposed to. The only thing I can think of that went bad was that I forgot to remove the HDMI cable before I disconnected the graphics card. Now, normally that probably wouldn't be a problem because the monitor was in sleep mode, it was off or something like that. I don't think it would have hurt anything, but I'm not sure. The difference here is that this is not connected directly to this monitor through the HDMI cable. It's actually connected to a screen recorder, and the screen recorder is fully powered all the time. So that probably sent power through the graphics card when I removed it, and it destroyed the graphics card. So, where did I put it? This XFX graphics card, the RX 580, yeah, it's no longer usable. It's dead. It's broken. probably as a result of me leaving the cable attached when I removed it. I thought I was being careful, but I was a little bit frazzled and a little bit in a hurry, and I didn't remove the graphics card. So there's a lesson for you. If you're removing a graphics card, not only shut off the power, not only remove the power cord, but also remove the HDMI cable or DisplayPort cable or whatever other cable you have before you take out the graphics card, because otherwise you might end up with a dead graphics card like I did. Now, how did I troubleshoot it? I didn't record that, so let me just explain. So the screen was bad. I tried several different cables. Just in case it was a cable was bad, I disconnected the screen recorder. I tried a DisplayPort cable. I tried another HDMI cable. The graphics card displays the same thing no matter what kind of cable it's used, so it's clearly the graphics card that's bad. So then I picked up an old graphics card that I had laying around. This is a GTX 750 Ti that I have used before, and it's known to work, and it worked fine. So clearly it was the graphics card that was bad, not the cables or any of the other things that were bad. So anyway, this one got put away too, because now installed in the system is an RX 590 from Sapphire. This is the Pulse RX 590. It's a good replacement for the one that I had, and it was they just lowered the price on it a little bit, so it was a decent deal. I don't know if next week this would seem like a bad deal though, because as we speak, there's rumors that AMD is coming out next week with the RX 5500 and maybe 5500 XT, and they might be a better choice than this, but anyway, it'll work. I got a good graphics card, and it'll work for what I'm intending it to do, and we'll go with this for a while. So anyway, let's do what we intended to do before. Let's start up Windows, and let's take a look at Windows. So start that, turn on my power supply switch, got power to the board, and then press my power button, and let's see what we got now. This should boot into Windows, and you should have a decent picture. You should be able to see the picture pretty good. We'll turn it so you can see it pretty good here. Again, with that screen recorder, I seem to have to cycle this, this screen off and on to get it to catch through the screen recorder. You really shouldn't have to do that, but for this particular system I do. Oh yes, there we go. That's Windows operating. So let me turn this so you can't see it, so I can put in my password. There we go. Okay, all booted into Windows. So what do we need to do in Windows? We already updated to BIOS 3.3. Remember that we have to update that VGA driver. Now I found some things in poking around, and I'm going to show you that. Now I'm sorry that the sound didn't work on the previous updates, which is why we skipped them, BIOS updates, but we got 2 more BIOS updates to do. So I'll get the sound working and show you exactly how to do the BIOS updates, and then how to finish it up, and then we're going to install some other Windows software to update the system, update the drivers. By the way, I installed the latest version that was available on the Microsoft website, the 1903 Windows 10 version. I downloaded the 1903 and put it on a flash drive. The thing is that that isn't the most updated stuff that Windows has. It's the file that you use to update it. But then after I installed it, I clicked update and updated Windows. I restarted. I clicked update, updated Windows, did a restart. I think it was the 3rd restart I finally got the full update on it. So you definitely want to just keep hitting that update button after you install Windows until it says there's no more updates available. With a fresh install of Windows, you just want to keep hitting that update button after you install, even if you've installed it from the latest version, you know, downloaded from the website and everything. You want to hit that update button until it's fully updated. All right, let's go into Windows, and I'm going to make sure the sound is working this time on the screen recorder, and we're going to show you how to some of the software that we got to download and install. Okay, so let's get to that. Here we are in the Windows environment. Let's click open Microsoft Edge, and let's do the same search we did before. We got an Asrock X370 Taichi Motherboard. So go there, and let's go to the manufacturer's website again. So previously we were in, oh, where was it? The Sport site. And we were in the BIOS part, and we showed that. Let's get that a little bit bigger so you guys can see it a lot easier. Okay, so we were there, and we're updating. I got the right board there? Oh, I got Z370 Taichi. Oops. Yeah, I don't want that one. Okay, so let's look at X370 Taichi. Z370 would be an Intel board. So X370 Taichi. So let's see here. This one. Let's try that. There we go. X370 Taichi. Okay, now we got, let's go to the support site. And previously we were in the BIOS. Okay, so here we got our BIOS. And we're going to update to 5.6 eventually. We have to update to the latest AMG all-in-one driver. And I was just going to download this link, which was the 18.5. Even though down here we had the 5.10 update, we got the 18.10 or later. This is the 18.50 version. But then I was looking at downloads. What other software can we download for our board? And I noticed that the AMD VGA all-in-one driver, the most current is 1910. So we're going to download that one. So let's download that one. And we'll save that to the downloads folder. Okay, and yeah, we don't need to see it. It's all done. Finished. Okay, Bluetooth driver. Do I need to install that? I'm not really going to be using Bluetooth with that. I suppose I should just in case. So let's save that. Okay, this should download very quickly. It can't be a very big file. There we go. That downloads. Now let's try a LAN driver. Oh, we definitely want a LAN driver. That's the internet driver. So let's download the latest one of that. Windows installs drivers for these things, but usually it's better to install the drivers coming from the manufacturer of the graphics card. So, or the, not the graphics card, the motherboard. So we're going to just keep downloading. SATA floppy image, I can't imagine why I would need that one. I'm not planning to use a floppy drive. I'm not sure what that's all about. So we're going to skip that. AMD RAID, I'm not going to be using a RAID array on this yet, so I'm going to leave that for later. If I decide to do a RAID later, we'll install that maybe. Intel wireless LAN driver, I am not going to use wireless LAN, but let's download it just in case you know, I want to experiment with it. So let's save that and download that one. So the wireless LAN, I am going to be using a wired Ethernet with this. I highly recommend the wired Ethernet if you can get it, because it's much more reliable than a wireless connection. But you know, realistically, some people have to use the Wi-Fi to connect their computers. But a desktop computer, it's pretty much set in place, and you probably should do a regular thing. Okay, that one's all good and downloaded. A-tuning utility. Oh, I have no idea what that is. Something for tuning the motherboard. Let's download it just for the heck of it. Click save. Oh, excuse me, folks. Wow, that's a huge one. Okay, can I download two at once with Microsoft Edge? Let's get the App Shop downloaded as well. Let's click that and click save. Now, where does Microsoft Edge keep the downloads thing showing? So A-tuning is downloading in 20 seconds. Did it also download the App Shop? Or does it finish with this and then download the App Shop? Good question. Okay, running security scan. That's Windows Defender there, protecting you. Windows Defender is actually pretty good on this. It should pass the security scan, no problem, but it's a bigger file, so it's taking a little longer. Okay, so that finished downloading. Oh, and the App Shop finished downloading. Good, it did download both at the same time. Norton Security. Boy, I don't know what kind of Norton Security this is. I'm not sure I'm going to download that one right now. I'm going to have to do some research on that one. Restart to UEFI, don't need that one. Asrock RGB LED version. Oh, we can play with that. That probably just controls the LEDs on the motherboard. So let's do that. And a beta utility. Oh, we definitely don't want to download the beta utility. Finish downloading here, so that's all good. All right, so that's all set. We'll install all of those, but first we're just going to install this. So let's get that one installed, that VGA all-in-one driver. That's the one that's most important to install right now. We'll leave the other ones till later. So let's go to our downloads folder here. So we got the File Explorer up, go to the downloader, and let's see, which one is the all-in-one? Here it is, the all-in-one driver. This is the one they really want us to install. So let's double click the setup. And yeah, okay, apparently that's not how you do it. If you don't install with the setup, I have no idea how you do it. It says application, there we go, okay. Do you know, yes, we want, that just took forever to open, I guess. Okay, yes. Cannot complete the extraction. Right, publisher, okay, yes. Okay, so just my clicking around did things. Okay, AMD software. Okay, so that's probably another one. Let's get rid of that. Another instance is running. Okay, another instance is running. Okay, it just took forever to open that thing. So this is actual AMD software. So they want us to install restriction. Okay, whatever. Accept and custom install. I have no idea what this is doing, so let's do the express install because it'll just install what it needs to install. So please wait while detecting hardware. So it's detecting my motherboard and should install pretty quickly here. So Radeon software, so it is installing everything it needed to install. Okay, and it says we got to restart, so let's restart and make sure everything's working. All right, we booted back into Windows and everything seems to be operating normally. We'll just go somewhere on the internet. Let's see. Let's just, since we got an Asrock theme. Oops. Let's just go here just for the heck of it. Asrock motherboards, and let's just click the Asrock link. And yeah, everything seems to be working great. Now just close that out. All right, let's eject this USB drive that I had with the BIOS on it. So eject that one. Okay, so that one's all ejected. All right, and then we're going to boot into the BIOS again and update to 5.6. Like I said, if you can update this BIOS, you can update any BIOS. This is the most complicated thing I've ever seen for updating BIOS. But anyway, let's shut it down. And we will restart into the BIOS. No, I'll do a restart. No, let's do a full shutdown. We're here in the BIOS again. You can see that we are on version 3.3. We're going to update to the next version. I use a wired keyboard and a wired mouse specifically for the reason that it's easier to get into the BIOS. You can just hold your finger down on the key. If you have a wireless one, you might have to hit the key repeated times. But anyways, let's use the arrow key to go over, just hit the right arrow key, and we'll go over to the tool section where the updater is. So let's do that now and use the down arrow key, instant flash, hit the enter key. And if we hit the enter key, come on, let's hit the enter key. I am doing this in voiceover, folks, so I forgot exactly what I said. All right, hit the enter key, hit the enter key. There we go, okay. And it immediately found the 510 BIOS because that's all that was on this one. So this is the next version of the BIOS we got to install. So we'll just click that update button. Come on. Me in the past. Let's click that update button. Okay, so we click the update button, click yes, and use the mouse to do those two things, and then we wait. I'll come back when we are updated and we'll continue on. Coming back after a bit of a break, we're almost done. We're going to finish. And it says we're okay. We just hit okay and we are done with this one. We're going to do the next BIOS update right away. So let me hit okay. So we're in the BIOS version 5.10. You can see up there on the top. Some of you with eagle eyes might notice that the BIOS looks a teeny bit different in some spots. And we're going to go over to the tool again, go down to Instant Flash, click the Instant Flash. We've done this before. We got the right flash drive in because we got version 5.6 on it. And all we have to do is click the Update button. So we'll click the Update button, click Yes to update, and we wait again. This waiting is, you know, the worst time. Okay, yeah, magic of editing, we got it done, and we click OK, and we should be good to go. Let's go back into Windows and see if we got it all done correctly. We have successfully booted back into Windows. Now, the voice recorder didn't work again, so I'm doing voiceover, so I'm not sure why I went in there. But anyway, I'm just going to show you here. We did download all those drivers, and I did install all of those drivers. So all of those drivers that we had downloaded previously have been installed. Now, let's take a look. There's one more thing we should do. We should check out the graphics drivers. We have an RX 590. So let's just type in RX 590 drivers in there and see what AMD has for us for the updated drivers. So there it is, right on the #1 thing there. And yes, I understand that we use cookies. Okay, let's go down here. So I'm looking around for a support site, drivers and support. There it is. Okay, so I want to find the graphics card RX 590. So we already got to graphics and our Radeon 500 series and the RX 500 series, and we should be able to select RX 590 from that list, and we do. Okay, click submit, and let's go down. Boy, this is not as fun as doing it live. Doing voiceover is really an annoyance. We got the most up-to-date operating system, so we're all good with that little note there. Let's click the download. Oh, just a note here. This was filmed just barely after that release date. So we are really up to date. This is like really up to date. Actually, as of filming this, I should probably check the update again. Okay, we're going to save it, and it's downloading very quickly. Get rid of the promotional email thingamajigger. So it's running Security Scan with Windows Defender. That took no time at all. And let's close that and close that, and we are all good. I'm going to install that, and then we'll come back and we'll check everything out, and we should be good to go. All right, we're back into Windows, and we are now completely up to date on all those apps that I installed. Let's just do one more check here. Yeah, let's just type in update. Check for system updates. Let's just check for Windows updates. Again, I know I just updated this. I just installed this a couple days ago. Actually, we're up to date still. All right, that's good. So we're all good to go on Windows. So all that's left to do now is install this computer into a case, and we will be set to go. So look for that in the next video.